Hello and welcome to today's planning briefing. It is October 24th. My name is Leanne Allegretto and I will walk you through the following weather-related impacts we're expecting basically Friday through the next several days and all the things that will matter to you during that time frame. So here's a pretty plain, quick-hitting what to expect through the course of the next several days and what to expect during the course of this presentation. We're going to have a bit of a weather change coming up, and it's going to have multifaceted components to it. The first, which begins Friday, will be widespread strong winds. Valley winds will gust up to 35 to 40 miles per hour depending on the location, which I'll show in the next slide. And those will start much later in the day. But winds in the terrain above 5,000 feet will be gusting to 50 miles per hour beginning quite early. And then winds will continue but lessen slightly on Saturday. Rain will change to snow as a cold front crosses the Northern Rockies. Accumulating snow and blowing snow is expected in terrain above 4,000 feet along the divide. But then snow will get down to valleys later in the day, but I'll get more into that as we go forward. Sunday we'll have lingering snow showers along the divide once more, but the big story then is that the colder air mass will settle into western Montana and to a lesser extent central Idaho, and the temperatures will really start to drop. So Monday and even Tuesday and Wednesday we're expecting temperatures to be about 10 to 20 degrees below seasonal average, which for this time of year and depending on exact location we're looking at the normal temperature around the low 50s. And then even colder temperatures possible Tuesday and Wednesday. So let's get into the details of everything that I have shown here. The first are the winds expected on Friday. Now I've sectioned it out here in kind of a very general, the strongest winds, then just lesser winds, and then the lowest winds. Like I said before, winds and terrain will be starting much earlier in the day, probably overnight tonight. This is recorded on Thursday, so tonight into Friday. And then the winds will accompany the cold front and mix down finally into the valleys late Friday afternoon. But the strongest winds expected, both in the terrain and in valleys, but more so in valleys, will be after 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So the gusts and what's expected for geographical location is on the left. So of course we're expecting the strongest to occur in northwest Montana and then slightly lesser amount of winds expected in west central Montana and then Idaho. So Saturday's snowfall component, what are we expecting? Well, there's two separate frontal features that will create the snow across the region during this time frame. This is the storm total snowfall expected for both of these frontal features. Now it's not a lot, but it's enough to cause some concern, especially in mountain passes along the divide, mostly Marias Pass, but McDonald Pass to an extent we'll see quite a bit of blowing snow, so that is an issue there. But the initial burst of snow will be very early Saturday morning, so after midnight, but before sunrise. And most of the snow, as you can tell from this graphic, will fall in the terrain along the Continental Divide. Now the second round will occur by later in the morning on Saturday, and that's when snow down to valley floors will occur. And most of that snow will be focused around the Missoula, Sealy, Northern Bitterroot Range. Phillipsburg, Anaconda, Georgetown Lake, you could also see some snow out of this in that later morning time frame. And then some snow will creep into Clearwater and Idaho counties. Again, most of it confined to the terrain and not huge amounts, but we wanted to highlight that snow will be an issue on Saturday for some. And of course, mountain snowfall continues all through the day. Now, regarding the cold that we're expecting, we've been looking at a lot of potentials here. What I'm showing here on the left is the potential for well below normal temperatures. So you can see the dark blues indicate about 80 to 90% of chance of having colder than normal temperatures. Okay, so we're feeling pretty good about that. On the right-hand side, it just shows similarly that we're expected to remain dry. So this will be a dry, cold time period, Sunday through early next week. But I want to explain the potential that could happen, but compared to the most likely scenario that will happen. So let's start with what we feel the best about. Temperatures in western Montana during the day will range somewhere in the upper 30s to low 40s. Again, well below normal for this time of year. North central Idaho highs will range in the upper 40s. Overnight lows during this time frame will be in the low teens to mid 20s across western Montana. Nothing too new. We've seen plenty of that so far in the season. And north central Idaho low temperatures will be in the high teens to upper 20s. The less likely, but still possible temperature scenario that we are worried about happening, but we don't have the confidence quite yet to put in the forecast, is that high temperatures Sunday, Monday, and especially Tuesday will only be in the mid to upper 20s for western Montana and north central Idaho. The low temperatures could be as low as digits below zero or single digits. So you can compare what we feel is the most likely temperature scenario and what some models are showing, but we're just not there yet with saying, okay, this is the scenario that's going to happen. So we wanted to communicate that there is this potential for serious cold. I mean, highs in the upper 20s would be a change for most people, and below zero temperatures, I don't feel that there's been a whole lot of places that have seen that yet this season. So, we wanted to just throw that out there. We will, of course, by the Sunday presentation, recorded briefing, we should have way more confidence than we do now, but we still have a little time. I also put a note here that some of the models are also showing the potential for more snow again Monday night into Tuesday, mostly impacting high terrain and mountain passes. But again, this is on the low end of our confidence. So we're putting it in here, but we're not buying it just yet. But we are considering it. So there you go. So that leads us to the weather threat matrix. There's a whole lot of yellow and oranges there Friday and Saturday and into Sunday, given the amount of wind we're expecting on Friday, the snow, the dropping temperatures, the winds that will continue Saturday, and then the snow and temperatures on Sunday. Monday is just cold and should be dry, so nothing expected there. But then we did add in the low chance of a snow potential on Tuesday, given that a few forecast models are hinting at it. So that's what we're going with here. Those are our decisions for why we went this direction. Hopefully it paints a picture of what we're expecting over the next several days. And of course, for more information, especially on those temperatures expected early next week, I would encourage you to drop on in, watch our video on Sunday. Our next briefing is expected Sunday, October 27th. So if you have any questions in the meantime, please give us a call or contact us via social media. Thank you.